Story of the time a police officer pulled me over just to flirt with me. So when I first got my license, I would always go to Wawa in the middle of the night. Usually I would pick up my friend and we would go together. But this night she was busy and I was hungry, so I just went by myself. So I pull up to Wawa and right after I got there, I see a police officer pull up. I didn't think anything of it. So I went inside, ordered my food, and while I was waiting in line to pay, I see the police officer walk in. He was probably in his late 20s, early 30s, really tall and muscular and had blonde hair and blue eyes. Just an overall attractive guy. Right when he walked in, we made eye contact. At the time, I was 17, so I wasn't thinking like, ooh, arrest me, officer. I'm just kidding. But whatever, I pay for my food, go to my car. Then the cop comes out a few minutes after me, and he looks at me while I'm getting in my car. And I was really hungry and not trying to wait to eat, so I watched YouTube on my phone and ate my food in my car. So I finished eating and start heading home. Mind you, there was nothing wrong with my car. I didn't have tints, all my lights were working, and all of a sudden I see cop lights behind my car. So I pull over, and it's lo and behold the cop from Wawa. Like for part 2.
My best friend was toxic. Story time. Growing up, I had this best friend who we're gonna name Keisha. And since my mom died when I was a baby, Keisha's mom kind of stepped up and became a motherly figure to me. And even though I appreciated it, I don't think Keisha did. Because she would always make these rude comments like, she's not your real mom, or she doesn't love you as much as she loves me because I'm her actual daughter. And it really bothered me, but I chose to ignore it because I loved Keisha's mom like my own mom. So this one time on Mother's Day, I was at Keisha's house hanging out with her and her mom. And Keisha had this really bad attitude just because I was there. Her attitude was so bad that I didn't even want to be there. So eventually I asked if I could go home, but Keisha's mom said I didn't have to and not to let Keisha's attitude ruin our day. And when her mom said that, it really set her off. And she said something that I would never forgive her for. Keisha turns to me and opens up her disgusting mouth to say, "Your mother is dead. You should be spending Mother's Day at a cemetery."
I was talking to this guy and we went on a date to Six Flags. So we're at Six Flags, everything is so fun, so quirky, and then we decide to get on Tatsu. So basically at Six Flags, Tatsu has like 4 seats every row. So you basically sit next to like a random stranger sometimes. So we get on, and then the boy that I'm talking to was like, oh, I don't want to sit next to the stranger. You have to sit next to her. I'm scared. And I was like, okay, like whatever, it's fine. So we're on the ride, right? This is the best part. Oh my god. The girl next to me, who is a stranger, starts spitting on me. She's literally like scratching me and like punching me. And so the ride finishes and I was like, what's your issue? So then the girl points at the guy that I'm talking to. And she's like, that's my boyfriend. He's cheating on me right now. I was like, what the fuck? Homeboy told me he was single. There were no pictures. He didn't tell me anything. Like, so then we left.
Story time about how my boyfriend cheated on me with a 17-year-old girl. So when summer started, I started working at this new job. And I had a really good connection with one of my coworkers. And he was 28 years old. So we started talking. But I would get mad at him a lot because he would ignore my messages asking to hang out. And on top of that, every time that we got done with work, we would all go sit and eat and he would sit next to this one girl. And by the way, she was 17. And I could see them flirting all the time. Well, finally, once summer ended, she moved away. And then I felt like I had a real chance to start dating him. So we started hanging out a lot and hooking up a lot. After a few months, I started taking our relationship serious. Well, apparently not for him because there was this girl on his phone that he had been texting a lot. So weirdly enough, after that, I get a DM from the girl that he would always flirt with at work. And she asked me if
When I was in 6th grade, I went to go visit my little cousins at their house. Their house was right on the edge of these woods, and the woods were really thick, and our parents always told us not to go there. And one time I asked my mom why, and she said because when people do bad things, they sometimes go and hide in the woods. I was staying at my cousin's house for a week on this one trip, and whenever I was bored, I would go look out the window and watch the woods. Usually it was pretty boring, and I would just be staring at trees, but one day it was like 5 p.m. and the sun was setting, so it was getting dark, and I saw something moving in the woods. I told my uncle, and he said it was probably just an animal, and I told him no, it was tall and looked like a skinny lady. And he said I have a creative imagination and it was probably just a deer. But then a few minutes later, I heard my aunt and uncle whispering in the kitchen. My aunt was talking about a woman from the psychiatric hospital in their town who had escaped. Their house was like 15 minutes away from a maximum security psychiatric hospital for criminals with mental illness. And then they saw me listening to them in the doorway and they stopped talking completely. A few days later, in the middle of the night, I heard a noise downstairs.
Story time on how my babysitter used a teddy bear to spy on me while I changed. Okay, so boom. My parents worked a lot and they both worked night shifts. My dad would come home first at like 11 p.m. and then my mom would usually come around 1 a.m. My parents didn't want me to be home alone for too long, so I would have a babysitter from 3 when I would get off of school till 11 when my dad came home. By the way, I'm 12 and the babysitter that we're going to be talking about is 19. So I usually stayed with my older cousin till my dad came home, but my cousin and her family moved. So my parents were forced to get me an actual babysitter. So like a week into me dealing with this new babysitter, one night I was changing and my babysitter tried to open the door, but it was locked. I told her that I was changing, but she told me that I have to leave my door unlocked just in case something happens. I only believed her because my parents had a similar rule. But eventually, my babysitter was always walking into me accidentally while I changed. I was getting annoyed, so I had to think of something to stop her. Y'all, I'm running out of time. Like for part 2.
My mom beat up the neighbor. Story time. So I used to have this neighbor, and we're gonna call her Miss Jackson. Now, Miss Jackson was super annoying, and she always found something to complain about. So my mom already didn't like her to begin with. So one day, me and my friends were playing soccer outside in my front yard, and we were having a lot of fun until one of us kicked the ball into Miss Jackson's yard. Now, normally when something like this happened, Miss Jackson would come outside, she would yell at us, but she would give our ball back. But this time, she comes outside with a pair of scissors, walks up to the soccer ball, and starts stabbing it. And then after she pops it, she throws it back at us and goes inside. Now, I was upset, and I didn't know what to do, so I just went and told my mom. And when I told my mom, she was heated. She goes over to Miss Jackson's house and starts banging on the door. And as soon as she opened the door, my mom grabbed her by the hair and started punching her. And Miss Jackson didn't even fight back. She was just apologizing the entire time. My mom tried to drown this little girl. Story time. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, my family got a pool, so they signed me up for swimming lessons. And I loved everything about the class except for this one girl who we're gonna name Pamela. She was the worst. And every time we had a class, when nobody was looking, she would hold my head underwater for an extremely long time. Now, normally, my dad would take me to my swimming lessons, but this time, my mom ended up taking me. And my mom does not play when it comes to her kids. So during class, Pamela thought nobody was looking, so she started holding me underwater again. However, my mom saw. My mom ends up running over, grabbing me out of the water, and then she grabs Pamela by the head, dunks her under the water, and holds her there for a really long time. Thank God the instructor was there because...
Part 2 of my tattoo horror story. So I was in the tattoo shop for about 2.5 hours. This wasn't because he was tattooing me for 2 hours, but because he kept on taking short breaks. He kept on telling me that he had to take a smoke break. And I was like, okay, that's fine, do what you gotta do. It was only him and another guy working there, nobody else. And every time he would take a smoke break, him and his coworker would go outside. During like the 3rd smoke break that they had, I had to pee, so I went to the bathroom. And when you're coming out of the bathroom, you're able to see outside, like through the window. So I noticed that the guy that was giving me my tattoo had a pill bottle in his hand. I kind of figured it was like Tylenol or something. But he was pouring it into his coworker's hand and he looked mad sus. So I go back and I wait in the room, sitting in the chair. Mind you, my friend was with me. And they took another 10-15 minutes to come back. And the way that I was sitting, my head was kind of like leaning down. So every time he would come back, the door was behind me, so I didn't really have to look at his face. And keep in mind that this was the longest break that he took the whole time. So after we left, my friend told me that that time that he came back, he had white powder all in his nose and he was trying to wipe it off. And my tattoo got infected.
I will never, and I mean never, forget the time that we had a male sub in high school and a girl asked to go to the restroom and he said sure. So she grabbed something and he heard a wrapper and he was like, oh, if you're gonna eat candy, you can do it in here, but you have to share with everyone in the class. And she was like, what? And he was like, well, I heard the wrapper. And she whips out a tampon, shoves it in his face, and she goes, you want to share? Oh, girl, savage.
So when my sister was 9, she got her first period. I was only 7 and it was only my brothers and my dad at home. So me being the only other girl, she called me in the bathroom when it happened and showed me this huge fucking blood clot that fell on the floor. We didn't know what it was and thought she had a baby at home. We named it Chase. So we picked it up and showed it to our brothers, saying it was a child that was going to grow up. So when it was dinner, all of us set a place for it at the dinner table, and when my mom got home she saw it on the table and panicked, yelling what TF was on the table and who put it there. My sister stood up proud as shit saying it was her child.
Has anyone ever tried to talk to you in a public bathroom? Once a young girl went into a public bathroom and heard from the stall next to hers, "Shall we put on the red vest?" She got scared, ran off, and called the police. 2 officers arrived. One went in and heard the same voice asking, "Shall we put on the red vest?" The officer outside heard her reply, "Okay, put it on." Suddenly, a loud scream, then a thump. The second officer opened the door to check on his partner, then found her head rolling on the ground and blood all the way down her back, making it look like she was wearing a red vest. In Japanese urban legend, the Akamanto is a ghost who haunts bathrooms, specifically female bathrooms. He wears a red cape and hides his face with a white mask. If he chooses you, he will ask you if you want to wear a red vest or a blue vest. If you say red, he will chop your head off. If you say blue, he will grab you by the neck until your face turns blue and you suffocate. If you try to ask for a third color, the floor will open up and a pair of pale hands will reach up and drag you to hell. This is why you should never Google yourself. Some of us might have done it once or twice, but for Anora Petrova, one simple search led to horrifying consequences. Anora had always wanted to be an ice skater. She was young, talented, successful, and had a famous trainer. The night before her first big championship win, she felt more anxious than usual. For fun, she Googled herself and came across a Wikipedia page saying that she would win. When she did win, Anora thought this must be a coincidence. But every time after that, the page would predict whether she won or lost. She checked it every single time, almost addicted to refreshing that site. When she was about to compete in another huge competition, she decided to manipulate the website by changing the outcome it predicted. But instead, it said, "Anora Petrova is going to get what she deserves." Right after, she was accused of sabotaging another girl's skates, which ended up slicing her in the forehead. Even though Anora denied it, she was banned from the competition and was dropped by her trainer. She thought this must be the worst of it until she checked the website the next day and saw a terrifying message about her. Follow for part 2 of the story.
I've got a delicious story. So one time when I was 10, I was drinking my favorite flavor of Capri Sun. The cherry one. It tasted like actual chicken kitten. Religion physician in prison pigeon sheet, and I told my mom. She said to cut the top off and dump it in the sink, so I did, and I kid you not, a 4-inch long piece of fungus came out, not mold. Fungus. I was taken to the hospital where my mom works for examination, and they said that if I had drank any more, I would have been horribly ill. The stupid company gave us an MF gift basket to keep quiet, like that would do anything but bleep. I wasn't gonna let your dirty ass poison other kids, so my mom posted it on Facebook and it went viral. Long story short, there are now 2 articles about my story, and we were the ones that made Capri Star have those clear bottoms in the pouches. I vowed to never drink Capri Moon again, and 5 years later, my family hasn't had a single one in the house since. Smirking cat face. Smirking cat face. Suck it, craft face with rolling eyes. Face with rolling eyes.
My mom beat up the neighbor. Story time. So I used to have this neighbor, and we're gonna call her Miss Jackson. Now, Miss Jackson was super annoying, and she always found something to complain about. So my mom already didn't like her to begin with. So one day, me and my friends were playing soccer outside in my front yard, and we were having a lot of fun until one of us kicked the ball into Miss Jackson's yard. Now, normally when something like this happened, Miss Jackson would come outside, she would yell at us, but she would give our ball back. But this time, she comes outside with a pair of scissors, walks up to the soccer ball, and starts stabbing it. And then after she pops it, she throws it back at us and goes inside. Now, I was upset, and I didn't know what to do, so I just went and told my mom. And when I told my mom, she was heated. She goes over to Miss Jackson's house and starts banging on the door. And as soon as she opened the door, my mom grabbed her by the hair and started punching her. And Miss Jackson didn't even fight back. She was just apologizing the entire time.
Once my brother was playing Minecraft. An hour later he told me that he got a Minecraft girlfriend. I was surprised because I got a Minecraft boyfriend that day too. I was happy for him. My brother kept chatting with his girlfriend and I kept chatting with my boyfriend. We were chatting with them for days and days. Me and my boyfriend would make out in Minecraft. Smirking face. A few days later my mom told my brother to stop playing Minecraft because he was failing every class, even English, literally the language he speaks. But I noticed that ever since my brother stopped playing, my boyfriend stopped playing too. I thought it was a coincidence, so I didn't think much of it. My boyfriend didn't play for over a month, so I decided to just cheat on him. But then he joined me and he saw me cheat. We got in a huge fight and I blocked him. But then I heard my brother crying in his room saying he broke up with his Minecraft girlfriend. I told him I broke up with my Minecraft boyfriend too. That was the moment I realized I was dating my own brother. What the fuck? It made me and my brother so sick to the point where we got COVID. Anyway, me and my brother haven't talked ever since. Oh, and I didn't know my brother knew that much about WAP.
Story time of how I found out that my mom was actually my older sister. My older sister never really liked me as a child. We were never close. I never knew why, but I was guessing it was because of the 10-year age gap. But I'm pretty sure she hated me because she couldn't even look me in the eye. I cannot make this up. She would not look me in the eye. But she never really talked to my parents either. She kind of just kept to herself all the time. Sometimes I have vivid memories of when we were younger and she would always be arguing with my parents about something, and I always thought it had something to do with me. Well, I was right. It had everything to do with me because eventually my sister turned 18 and she moved out. For 2 years, I didn't talk to her at all. I honestly don't even think I had her number saved, and I'm pretty sure that she didn't have mine. Well, 2 years later, and I was 10 at the time, she reached out to me via social media. I'm not sure how she found my Instagram name, but it was just my name, so she probably just typed that in and found me. She DM'd me and told me that she wanted to talk about something very important and that she would like to talk over the phone. So we exchanged numbers and we called that same night. And she told me that when she was younger, my dad had taken advantage of her and gotten her pregnant and had me.
So this one time I had to stay at my grandma's because my dad was on vacation. And I was having a huge box of clothes come in, and I was not about to have these hoes stolen, so I had my friend stop by to put them inside. So I called my friend up and I was like, hey, can you tell me when you get to my house and let me know when you put the package in? She's like, I got you, shawty. I was like, bet, girl. So around 10 minutes later, I got a call from her freaking out. She was like, Kayla, is there anybody at your house? I was like, no, my dad's on vacation and I'm at my grandma's. She said, no, Kayla, there is somebody at your house right now. So I start freaking out. I'm like, girl, what do you mean? And she said she saw someone walk across this huge window and then my dad's lights turned on. So I start freaking out. I'm like, what did you see walk across the window? Like, who did it look like? And she said it was just a black, tall figure that walked across that window. And around 5 minutes of being on the phone, freaking out, she said my dad's lights turned off again. Eventually, me and my grandma drove by the house to make sure nobody was there. And of course, nobody was in my house. And it only gets worse.
If me and my sister ever put our elbows on the dinner table, my mom would take a fork and stab us in the arm. On Thanksgiving, I put my elbow on the table and she stabbed me with the fork, and she told me I wasn't allowed to have Thanksgiving dinner that night and I had to go to my room. Well, payback's a bitch. My mom got food poisoning from the turkey because she accidentally baked it with the plastic in it. But guess
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life. I'll go first. 2 years ago, I was walking my dog at the park and a man approached me and asked to take a picture of her. And I said yes, because why not? It's a picture of a dog. So he starts taking a picture of my dog, and then I realized that he was like holding up her collar, and then it hit me. My address is on that collar. He's not taking a picture of my dog, he's taking a picture of my address. So I told him that I actually didn't feel comfortable with him having a picture of my dog, and I asked him to delete it. So he deletes it and then like starts walking away really fast. And I was like, excuse me, sir, no, could you also go into your deleted album and delete it from there? And he goes, I don't have a deleted album. And I was like, you have an iPhone, everybody has a deleted album, could you please delete the picture?
One day, I went to my friend's birthday party. We're gonna call her Jazzy. Well, I'm at the party, and then Jazzy's dad pulls me aside, and he's like, can we talk in private? I was like, yeah, of course, because I thought it was gonna be like a gift for Jazzy.
So long story short, he pulls me aside and it gets so motherfucking weird. Like
homeboy starts holding my hand and he's like, I always thought you were one of Jazzy's most beautiful friends.
My sister and I have always been mistaken as twins. I'm 19 and she's 16, but we have the same height, skin tone, and similar voice. She also has a habit of being a copycat, from the way I dress to hobbies, even piercings. I know it's cute if you look at it from the outside, but sometimes it gets annoying. Like, yeah, we are quite close too, but why does she always happen to pick up everything I pick up? One afternoon, I was tidying up some costumes in my college showroom and found a rather cute brown and pink wig. It looks like a mushroom. I put it on, think it looks rather funny, so I snapped a picture and posted it to my Instagram. I received a text from my sister asking if I really cut my hair.
Crazy ass story time about how my best friend's parents walked in on me sleeping with my best friend's brothers. And yes, I said brothers. So my freshman year, I became best friends with this girl.
and she had 2 older hot-ass brothers. One was in college, and one was a senior. Well, it was Christmas break, and her older brother from college was home. And my parents let me go with them to Florida for Christmas break. They had a super nice beach house, and I was sharing a room with my best friend. And the boys were sharing a room. And our room was connected because there was a bathroom in the middle. Well, my best friend got super sick the first 3 days of the trip, so she didn't do anything with us. So I was hanging out with the boys all the time. Well, the one night we were on the deck and we started to play Truth or Dare. And one of them asked, "Would you sleep with us?" And I said, yeah. So at around 3 a.m., I snuck into their room, and things started to get real nasty. There are kids on this app, so just use your imagination. And things started to get really loud, and we woke their parents up, like for part 2.
Now, I'm sure many of us have encountered little shits in supermarkets. Kids running around, knocking things over, being rude, but the worst are the biters. Today, I was shopping in the grocery store when a biter got me. He broke skin too and I started bleeding. When I saw the blood on his teeth and the grin he had, the gears started turning and I got an idea. Made my eyes go wide and started screaming, shit, fuck, no. My good friend was there too, and he instantly picked up on what I was doing. He started shouting, fuck, maybe he didn't get it. Shit. By now, the kid is scared shitless and starts crying, and instantly, his mom appears out of nowhere and starts getting pissy at us for yelling at her kid. Here's the kicker. I look her straight in the eye and say, ma'am, get your son tested as soon as possible. He just bit me and I'm HIV positive. And now there's silence, not a peep in the entire store. Brat knows he just fucked up big time because his mom isn't defending his ass. He stares at me wide-eyed and I walk away from them to buy my groceries. All while blood is dripping from my calf, making a nice little trail on the floor. Just as we're about to leave, we start to hear the mom sobbing like the little she is.
What would you do if you received this as a gift? Once there was a girl named Lucy who received a strange gift from someone unknown. She was so excited, so she opened the package quickly, but she could have never expected what was inside the box. She pulled out a doll, but it wasn't just a regular doll. It was bald, covered in cracks, and something was wrong with his teeth. They looked pointy and beastly, almost like they were made from real animal teeth. She told her mom she needed to throw it out, but her mom told her to be grateful, so Lucy put the doll in a cupboard under the stairs so she wouldn't have to look at it. But at night, something terrifying happened. Right before she was about to fall asleep, she heard a small voice say, "Lucy, I'm on the first step." In the morning, she told her mom, who dismissed it and said that she was just having a nightmare, so Lucy went to school as normal and tried to ignore it as much as possible. But the next night she heard the same voice again. "Lucy, I'm on the fourth step." She kept telling herself it was just a dream, until the same voice returned a third time, but this time louder and closer. "Lucy, I'm on the top step." The next morning her parents found that in the middle of the night, Lucy must have tried to go downstairs to go to the bathroom and fell and broke her neck. During the funeral, her toys, including that doll, was buried with her. Her mother said Lucy loved her dolls. Now they can be together forever.
Am I the asshole for getting mad about my mom marrying my fiance's dad? What? I, 24 female, and my fiance, 24 male, have been together since our sophomore year of college, so around 5 years now. For context, my mom had an affair with a coworker when I was 16, leading to my parents' divorce. She has been single ever since. Sadly, my fiance's mom passed 2 years ago due to cancer, and his dad has been single since. My fiance proposed last year, but our wedding was delayed due to COVID. 3 months ago, in January 2021, we decided it was time to have our families meet for the first time to discuss our upcoming wedding. This went well. This morning, out of the blue, my mom called me and announced that she had eloped. I was shocked, as she had not been dating anyone to my knowledge. Upon questioning, it turns out that she and my fiance's dad had been dating in secret since that meeting in January and had married in secret yesterday, making my fiance my stepbrother.